The rain was pouring down like crazy, like the gods had tipped the whole Indian Ocean onto Nairobi at night. Lightning flashed, lighting up the endless sea of tin roofs on the city's edge, the Kibra slum. Rainwater leaked through rusty sheets into the shacks. Kids huddled under plastic sheets, mothers caught drips in old buckets. The drip mixed with thunder, the night's familiar soundtrack for this place. Meanwhile, at the other end of the city, the fanciest hotel in Nairobi, the PRL of East Africa, was lit up like a Christmas tree. Crystal chandeliers poured light like stars, marbly floors reflected men in Shah RP suits. Tonight was a pre-auction event for international energy rights. Rich folks, politicians, and big energy bosses from Europe, America, the Middle East, and Africa itself were all there. The air smelled like champagne, expensive perfume, and power. Ka Ru, 23, moved through the crowd carrying a tray of champagne. Flutes. His black uniform was neat but a bit too big. He moved smoothly, his eyes focused, like a leopard slipping through the jungle. He was the hotel's hardest working waiter, and the only local staff fluent in English, Swahili, and some French. The manager often said, Ka Ru, if you'd been born into a better family, you'd be studying abroad by now. But fate hadn't given him that choice. Ka Ru was from Kibra. His dad was a miner who died 10 years ago in a tunnel collapse near the Tanzanian border. His mom raised him and his sister sewing clothes. He did well in high school, dreaming of becoming a geological engineer, a job his dad used to talk about. Under Africa's soil, he'd say, lies wealth that could lift everyone up. But university fees were a mountain he couldn't climb. He ended up taking this job, 12,000 Kenyan shillings a month, about $90, 2 meals a day, living in the hotel's staff dorm. He knew it wasn't just about carrying trays. It was his closest look at that world. He eavesdropped on guests, noted down keywords, and looked them up later on his old phone. He taught himself geology, energy, finance, soaking up knowledge like a dry sponge. Tonight, he was extra nervous. He knew the Red Line 9 oil field up for auction was the same one his dad had helped explore years ago. He'd seen the hand-drawn map in his dad's old notebook, a red line snaking like a vein, labeled K9. He was adjusting his tray when he heard laughter. Look at these locals, boomed a voice. Can BA rely string English together, and they think they can play in the energy game. It was Vander Merwe, a big-shot South African mining TYCN. 50-something, tall, classic white elite vibe, cigar in hand, gold watch flashing. His tone was pure condescension. Africa's future belongs to those with capital and vision, not locals who can't even speak proper English. His gaze swept the room like a knife. Ka Ru flinched and tried to move faster. But just then, a guest turned suddenly. Ka Ru dodged, but the tray tilted. Champagne splashed onto Vander Merwe's sleeve. Sorry, sir, Ka Ru apologized quickly, his voice clear but with a distinct Kenyan accent, the rolled R's, the musical lilt. Vander Merwe jerked his arm away like shaking off a fly. That accent, he sneered. Sounds like monkeys banging drums. Who taught you English at a slum? Well, the crowd laughed. Ka Ru's face burned. His fingers trembled. He wanted to say, I learned at a mission school, or my dad was a geological survey recorder, or I memorize 50 words a day. But he knew those words meant nothing here. Africans belong in the fields or carrying trays, Vander Merwe continued. Don't dream of joining the civilized world. You can't even run your own countries, and you want to manage oil fields. Ka Ru kept his head down, silently wiping the sleeve with a cloth. Respectful, but silent. He knew a waiter's dignity wasn't worth a spilled drink to these people. He retreated to a corner with his empty tray, RT pounding. The rain hammering the hotel windows sounded just like the dripping water back in Kibra. He remembered his sister crying on the phone yesterday about school book fees, his mom's worsening cough, the landlord demanding rent. Then, his phone buzzed. He slipped into the staff corridor and pulled out his old SMA phone. A message lit up the screen, encrypted, from an unknown number. It made his blood freeze. Ka Rumakand. East African Joint Exploration Authority confirms. Exploration rights for Red Line 9 oil field activated in your name. Estimated value, $920 million US. PA participate in auction by 2100 hours tonight. Access key, Mkand 1987 K9. Ka stopped breathing. Red Line 9 wasn't that the project. Multinationals and governments were fighting over how was it in his name? Hands shaking, he opened the attachment. An official electronic document, stamped by the East African Joint Exploration Authority. The holder's name, Ka Ruru Makand. Makand, his grandfather's surname. His mom Ra Ralai mentioned him, only saying he was an old Shole from Tanzania who didn't like working with foreigners. His mom's dying words flashed in his mind, your father didn't die in a mine collapse. He stayed silent to protect a singing stone. Your grandfather said that stone held the blood of the Earth, and only Makand blood could wake it. He'd always thought that was just fever talked, but now, this message, this key, this K9, it all fit. He looked back into the ballroom. The auction had STA route. On the big screen, the map of Red Line 9 unfolded. Van der Merwe looked smug, bidding already at $300 million. Ka Ruse. Palms were slick with sweat. 920 million headed Tevenhave 920. He was a waiter, living in a dorm, his wages ba rely feeding his family, but the key worked. He typed Mkand 1987 K9 into the encrypted site it linked to. It verified him instantly, biometrics from when he'd registered fingerprints and eye scans with an NGO last year. His account showed it, a non-transferable exploration rights certificate, legally binding across 3 East African nations. His grandfather had planted this seed when he was born. The clock ticked Tawa RDS 9 p.m. Ka Ru knew he had 2 choices, ignore it. Go back to Ca Rying Trays. Pretend it was a dream, walk into that auction room. Say, 900 million. Bet everything. He looked down at his hands, rough, calloused, wiped champagne glasses and kibra dirt. These hands had polished glasses for the rich, brewed medicine for his mom, helped his sister with homework. Suddenly. He smiled, he took off his waiter's jacket. From his backpack, he pulled out a deep blue Makand tribal robe, the only thing his mother left him, embroidered with ancient symbols, EARTH veins, bloodlines connected. He put it on. He fastened the black obsidian necklace around his neck, said to be made from Shah RDS of the Singing Stone. The man in the mirror wasn't a humble waiter anymore. He looked like an envoy stepping out of the deep rainforest. He walked out of the staff corridor, through the glittering lobby, straight Tawa RDS the auction podium. No one recognized him. Van der Merwe was boasting to an aide, snag K9, flip it for triple. Africans, they couldn't raid an exploration report if their lives depended on it. Then, a steady voice cut through the air, 900 million. Silence fell. Every head turned. Ka Ro stood at the back, wrapped in his robe, eyes blazing. Van der Merwe gaped. You. The waiter. Where'd you get that kind of money? Ka Ro calmly held up his phone. The screen showed the confirmation page from the encrypted account. Not using $RS, he said. It's an East African Joint Credit Certificate. My backing comes from the roots of Africa, imperative. He paused, his voice clear and rock solid. I am Ka Ru Makand. The bloodline of this land has never been broken. The night was deep. The heavy rain over Nairobi had finally eased. But here, far from the city's noise, deep in the Adzungwa mountains of Tanzania, a campfire still burned. The firelight flickered over a small village nestled within ancient rainforest. Wooden huts stood scattered, roofs thick with thatch, walls red with old symbols, winding lines like cracks in the EARTH, surrounding a glowing stone. Locals called it Mpoamwaji, Swahili for blood of the EARTH. This was one of the last strongholds of the Makand people. Once known across East Africa for their Heartwarming, epic storytelling, and the mysterious stone speech, the tribe had scattered. Colonial land grabs and modern development had nearly erased their traditions. The village elder, Mba Ra, hunched over a black stone, whispering a low chant. Over 80, his hair was white as snow, but his eyes were sharp as an eagle's. The stone in his hands was one of the 3 sacred stones Ka Ru's mother had taken away years ago. Bloodline holds, he murmured, his voice like wind through rocks. The Earth still calls. Ka Ru, do you hear it? The story really began 20 years ago. Back then, Ka Ru's grandfather, Makonde Mwanga, was the youngest chief geologist at the East African Joint Exploration Authority. He'd graduated from Dar es Salaam University, studied in Germany, but came back home, vowing to use science to protect Africa's land. In 1998, on a field survey, he discovered a massive oil and gas belt stretching across Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. It wasn't like normal oil fields, isolated pockets. This was like a living underground river, flowing through the geological layers of the Great Rift Valley. The reserves were staggering. Locals called it the Red Line, legends saying it was the blood of ancient spirits, feeding the grasslands, lakes, and life itself. Mwanga knew this find could change East Africa's destiny. But he knew something else: wealth in greedy hands becomes disaster. Multinational energy giants were already circling, offering fortunes for the rights. Government officials were eager to attract investment, promising rapid development for the people. Mwanga refused. His report warned, reckless drilling would poison underground water systems. Lakes would dry up, farmland turn to salt, destroying the livelihoods of millions. It's not that we lack resources, he argued at a hearing. We lack the power and dignity to guard them. His words angered powerful people. Soon, his lab was broken into, data stolen, colleagues reassigned. He even got anonymous threats. He knew he had to hide the truth. He returned to the Makonde village. Using the tribe's lost art of stone speech, he etched the exploration coordinates, geological structures, and ecological warnings into 3 pieces of obsidian. This wasn't writing. It was coded in the rock's grain, its cracks, its mineral patterns. Only those of Makonde blood, trained in the old ways, could read it. He gave 1 stone to each of his 3 children, his eldest daughter, teaching in Kenya, his second daughter, Heartwarming in Uganda, and his youngest son, Ka Ru's mother, who hid with her child in Nairobi. Only when a Makonde descendant comes of age, Mwanga vowed, when their heart belongs to the Earth, and they can hear the stone's voice, only then can the red line be awakened. Soon after, Mwanga retired due to illness and vanished from public life. He lived quietly in the village under a different name, still working on ways to protect the land, waiting for that day. Ka Ru's mother, Amina, struggled to raise her son in Nairobi. She never spoke of her family's past. Only late at night, holding the black stone, would she whisper, "Mama, I kept it safe." When Ka Ru was 10, Amina fell gravely ill. On her deathbed, she gripped his hand. Ka Ru, your father didn't die in a mine collapse. He was called away to confirm data. When he came back, he was silent. Days later, he fell in a tunnel. They didn't want the truth known. Trembling, she gave him the stone. This stone holds your grandfather's voice. When you're grown, go to the Edzungwas. Find Elder Mba Ra. He'll tell you, you're not just a slum kid. You're a guardian of the Earth. Then, she closed her eyes. Ka Ru held his little sister, crying all night in the Kibra rain. From that day, Ka Ru changed. He didn't just want an education, he needed to be strong. He knew he ride more than just survival, he ride buried history, a sleeping duty. He worked days, studied nights. He joined Roots of Africa, a youth group from slums, villages, and forgotten tribes. They believed Africa's future shouldn't be written by outsiders. He learned Makonde songs, he read legends of the stone speech, and caught whispers of the red line from old geologists. A retired professor told him, "Your grandfather, Mwanga, he was a true patriot. He wasn't against development. He was against plunder. He said resources should be like rain, nourishing everyone, not a flood that only drowns the weak." A fire ignited in Ka. He studied geology, environmental science, African economic history. He learned Africa exports crude oil but imports gasoline. Foreign companies control oil fields. Locals get low-wage jobs. Pollution from drilling steals villages' water, makes kids sick. Rent poor, he told a youth forum once. We're made poor. He dreamed of an African energy model, community-led, eco-friendly, red profits, but dreams are heavy. Reality is heavier. His sister needed school fees. His mother's medicine couldn't stop. The landlord demanded rent. So, he kept carrying trays, smiling as he poured wine for men discussing African market potential. Until that night. The message. He knew. His grandfather's stone had finally sta route to sing. A week before the auction, Ka took leave. He took the stone and boa ride a bus to Tanzania. The mountain roads were rough. Outside his window stretched vast savannas and lonely acacia trees. He remembered his mother telling Makonde legends as a child. Our ancestors didn't come from elsewhere. They grew from the earth. Our bones are stone. Our blood is groundwater. Our breath is the wind. 3 days later, he reached the Adzungwa Mountains. The village was quiet, timeless. Elder Mba saw him. Shakily, he brought out the other 2 sacred stones, placed together on the altar. The 3 black stones fit like puzzle pieces. Their patterns merged into a complete geological map. The core of Red Line 9, Mba ran his thin fingers over the stone surface. Do you hear it? The stone speaks. Ka closed his eyes, tracing the patterns with his fingertips. Suddenly, a melody filled his mind, his mother's lullaby. The words were a code for geological coordinates. His eyes snapped open. I understand. The red line isn't just oil. It's an ecological lifeline. Drill recklessly, poison the groundwater, the grasslands turn to dust, millions lose their water. Mba nodded. Your grandfather said true wealth isn't how much oil you pull out. It's keeping the earth alive. Ka knelt. Trs fell. He finally understood why his grandfather waited 20 years. Wasn't an inheritance. It was a test to see if he remembered his roots. He would stand up for the land. He could choose duty over greed when tempted. He could have sold the rights quietly. Lived rich forever, but he remembered the dirty water Kibra kids drank. His sister gasping with asthma. His mother's dying eyes. He remembered Van der Merwe's sneer, Africans belong carrying trays. No, he wouldn't just win the field, he would show the world Africans don't just carry trays. They carry their own destiny. He stood. I'm going back, he told the elder. But this time. I'm not Ka Makonde, waiter. I am the earth's heir. Mba joined the 3 stones into one and placed it in Ka's hands. Go. Let the stone's voice echo across Africa. The night deepened. Ka sat on a cliff outside the village, watching the stars. His phone signal was weak, but he opened his notes app and typed, true power doesn't come from cash or clout. It comes from knowing where you belong, and who you fight for. He didn't know what would happen at the auction, but he knew one thing, he was ready. Inside the auction hall, the air felt frozen, light from the crystal chandeliers spilled over Ka. He stood near the back, wrapped in his deep blue Makonde robe, the obsidian necklace resting against his chest like an ancient seal pressed into the earth. His voice wasn't loud, but it hit everyone like a drumbeat. 900 million. Silence. Champagne glasses hung in midair. Siga or smoke seemed to pause in the light. South African mining TYCN Vander Murray spun around, disbelief and scorn twisting his face. You the waiter? Where the hell did you get that kind of money? You think this is some slum market, shouting numbers to buy an oil field? No one laughed. Karu's expression was too serious, too calm. This wasn't a joke. The auctioneer froze. He looked down, frantically swiping through his tablet. Seconds later, he looked up, his voice tinged with shock. Confirmed, valid. Bidder Karu Makand, holder of the Red Line 9 Exploration Rights Certificate, verified via East African Joint Exploration Authority biometrics. Bid, $920 million USD. The number on the big screen jumped, $850 million to $920 million. Crowd erupted in murmurs. He's actually qualified to bid, a French delegate whispered. Yes, a Kenyan energy official nodded. Red Line 9 allows bids from local consortiums, prioritizing sustainable development plans. His legal standing is confirmed. Vander Murray's face turned purple. He'd thought this auction was a formality. His consortium of European and American capital was ready to snap it up for $800 million, flippin' jit for at least a $300 million profit. Now, a waiter had Ape read out of nowhere, bidding NEARLY $1 billion more. Are you insane? Vander Murray hissed, stepping closer to Karu. Do you have any idea what $900 million means? You'll never see that much money in your life. Karu met his gaze calmly. I know. That's why I won't let it become just a numbers game for a few. He raised his phone, connecting it to the projector. The big screen flashed to life, showing a document, the East African Youth Energy Cooperative Charter. I'm not bidding alone, Karu Dekle read. I represent the 327 members of the Roots of Africa Cooperative. FAMers, artisans, teachers, ex-soldiers. They pledged land, skills, future EA earnings, everything they could, to build this fund together. He paused, his voice clear. We didn't take foreign loans. No strings attached. Our backing East African Joint Credit Certificates, a local finance system backed by the central banks of Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. Silence fell again. This system was a recent African push for financial independence, moving away from the US dollar. It let local projects use assets, labor, or future resource profits as collateral for funding. It had been used for FARMS and roads before, never for an international energy bid. You actually raised $900 million, a Tanzanian delegate asked, incredulous. Karu nodded. Not cash. Credit. We pledge, if we develop the field, we'll repay every member's stake from the oil and gas profits within 3 years. And we'll set up an ecological fund. Then came the real shocker, he unveiled their development plan. Use the world's cleanest, closed-loop drilling tech, zero groundwater poisoning. 40% of profits go to NEARBY villages, schools, clinics, clean water. 60% invested in solar and wind, aiming for a carbon-neutral oil field in 10 years. Launch the Red Line Youth Academy, free training for African geologists, engineers, ecologists. Isn't plunder, he said. It's guardianship. My grandfather said, the EARTH doesn't speak, but its blood flows in our veins. We're not here to dig up oil. We're here to pay a debt to polluted rivers, forgotten villages, underestimated youth. The room was utterly still. Then, applause sta root from a corner, was Dr. Ndezizai, the Rwandan water scientist. That's the most sensible development plan I've ever heard. We always say Africa lacks resources. What we really lack is people who respect them. The applause grew. From the Ugandan delegate, to a Tanzanian chief, to African entrepreneurs. They were used to foreign takeovers and corrupt deals. They'd never seen a young man challenge the whole game with culture, credit, and responsibility. Vander Murray went pale. He knew if Karu's plan won, his consortium was finished. He hissed to his aide, dig up his past. There must be fraud. How can a waiter mobilize 900 million in credit? The aide urged frantically. Public records showed only Kibra slum, high school diploma, waiter, clean record, painfully ordinary. Unless. The aide muttered, he really is Makand Mwanga's grandson. Van der Merwe suddenly remembered the whispers from 20 years ago, the geologist who refused to carate, who supposedly hid his secrets in his bloodline, waiting for an awakener. He read at Ka, a flicker of fear in his eyes. The young man wasn't just a rags to riches story, was the return of a forgotten era. The auctioneer Clea read his throat. Final bid, 920 million. Any higher offers? Seconds ticked by. Van der Merwe gritted his teeth, wanting to bid higher. But he knew forcing the price up meant huge losses and investigations for predatory bidding. Plus, Karu's plan ticked all the UN sustainability boxes, politically risky to oppose. Withdraw, he finally choked out. The auctioneer's gavel came down. Sold. Red Line 9 block Awa ride to Karu Makand and the East African Youth Energy Cooperative. Thunderous applause erupted. Karu didn't cheer. He simply bowed deeply. In Swahili, he said, Asante sana. Thank you very much. This isn't my victory. It's the victory of everyone who believes in Africa. He walked out of the hall. The night air felt CL on his face. His phone buzzed, the cooperative group chat exploding. Ka. We did it. The kids will get a school. My mom won't have to ration her meds anymore. He looked up at the stars. For a moment, he thought he saw his grandfather smiling. He knew the real fight was just beginning, and at least, that gavel had shattered a door sealed for 20 years. 1 year later, dawn broke over the grasslands where Tanzania meets Kenya. Once Ren Red Line 9 block was now a vibrant green campus. Silver solar panels glistened like dew in the morning sun. Low-profile eco-drilling rigs hummed quietly, no smoke, no noise. A new clean water pipeline snaked Tawa RDS7 surrounding villages. At the center stood a round building, its walls carved with the Makand symbols, EARTH veins, bloodlines connected. This was the Makand Science Center, Africa's first community-governed energy and ecology research hub. A digital screen by the entrance scrolled the day's menu. Today's chef, Karu Makand. Specials, chicken and cassava stew, plantain rice, wild honey tea. Yes, Karu still ked. Every weekend, he'd be in the campus kitchen, feeding workers, villagers, and interns. I see a ride trays, he'd say. I know hunger. Now I hold an oil field, I better make sure everyone can hold their own plate. This past year, Karu hadn't moved into a mansion. No fancy car. He hadn't even raised his own salary. He went back to Kibra. Using some of the profits, he built a 3-story building, ground floor, children's library, shelves packed with books in Swahili, English, local languages. Second floor, vocational training center, coding, electrical work, Heartwarming. Third floor, community clinic with basic meds and telemedicine. His sister was now studying medicine at Nairobi University. His mother's asthma was under proper care. The landlord stopped asking for rent, and Red Line 9 developed exactly as promised. Local youth hired first for skilled jobs, over 300 now employed. Monthly village council meetings, elders and women reps deciding how profits. Red Eco Fund had already helped 20 villages build rainwater harvesting systems. Kids finally drank clean water. Even better, the Roots of Africa cooperative model was spreading across East Africa. Ugandan youth used it for mining rights. Rwandan mayors teamed up for geothermal energy. A slogan went viral online, we don't grab wealth. We wake it up. That day, an anonymous visitor arrived at the campus, dressed in a simple trench coat and hat. He wandered the science center alone. He watched kids learning geology with 3D models. He saw women engineers fine-tuning the solar grid. He paused before an old photo on the wall, a young Makand Mwanga standing with his survey team, eyes determined, stood there a long time. Finally, he approached. Ka Rud, I am Van der Merwe, he said, removing his hat. His hair was white, his eyes complicated. Ka Rud wasn't surprised. He knew the Tycn who'd mocked him as just a Tracy Ryer had seen his company collapse. Fined for environmental violations in Nigeria, investigated across multiple countries, forced out of Africa. You hate me? Van der Merwe asked, his voice low. Ka Rud shook his head, handing him a cup of wild honey tea. I don't hate you. I thank you for what you said. Africans belong ca rying trays. Van der Merwe gave a bitter smile. That was meant to humiliate you. It made me see clear rly, Ka Rud said calmly. Africans shouldn't be defined. We can be waiters and scientists. We can carry trays and guard the earth. He led Van der Merwe to the campus lookout point, pointing Tower RDS the distant grasslands. See that village 10 years ago, kids died young because their water was poisoned. Now their school runs on our power. Their clinic uses our water. That's real development. Van der Merwe was silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. I was wrong. I always thought capital and tech were the only engines of progress. Here, I see another power. Dignity. He turned to leave, then stopped. Can I do something here? My engineering team? They'll provide tech support. Pro bono. Ka Rud smiled. Welcome. But condition, all tech must be localized. You train African youth. Deal, Van der Merwe said. They shook hands, a real handshake, for the first time. Night fell. A bonfire crackled in the campus. Sqa Elder Mba Ra had come from the Adzungwas. He beat an ancient Makand drum. Its deep thud echoed like the EARTH's own heave beat. Villagers sat in a circle, singing the old song of the EARTH. Stone can sing, river knows its name. Child rises up from the dirt holding stars, eyes on the dawn. Ka Rud sat among them, gazing at the stars. He knew this victory wasn't the end. Africa had countless red lines waiting to be. He rode countless Karus waiting to be seen, remembered his mother's dying words, his grandfather's silence, the auctioneer's gavel falling that night. True wealth isn't written in contracts, it's etched in bloodlines, grows from the land, lives in every spine that refuses to bend. Stood up, raising a cup of clear water. A toast. To the EARTH. To the ancestors. To everyone still fighting, our time. It's only just begun. The bonfire light warmed every face, a wind swept in from the grasslands, carrying the scent of soil and hope.